Now then, this video is going to upset some people. Trust me, if the title hasn't already. The problem is, I've got stuff to say and I think it should be said by someone, and I haven't seen anyone else saying it. So, here we go. We've all seen that now in the UK you can get Sawstop saws, and a lot of people have rejoiced about that. I, however, have a slightly different opinion, and that's for a number of reasons. And it's not because I hate safety, and it's not because I hate choice or anything like that. It's much bigger than that. Much like bringing this table into the workshop that seemed a good idea, and the Sawstop does seem like a good idea, this, I don't think, is going to work out overly well in the grand scheme of things. Now, the cost of this thing isn't something to be sniffed at. The Sawstop contractor saw, I believe, is somewhere in the region of £1,400. Okay? Now, £1,400 for a table saw is a lot of money in anyone's time. However, when it's basically just a regular contractor saw, then that's a heck of a lot of money. Now, I'm just searching Yandles in the UK because that who is, I believe, who's got the Sawstop stuff. Now, I have clicked on the Sawstop stuff, so let's have a look and see how much they are. So, the super compact table saw is $899. Now, bearing in mind that for that money you can buy a cast iron topped induction motored monster, I imagine, maybe something like the Lumberjack or something, but something that's more like the equivalent of the Evolution with the wheels is $1499, which is, again, an awful lot of money. Add to that the cost of 10-inch blade brakes being $79.99, and they're on pre-order, then you're looking at an awful lot. Now, I don't think this is for who they're trying to make you believe it's for, because they're trying to make you believe that it is for contractors, because for $14.99 you can buy yourself the sight saw, which, you know, is, like I said, an awful lot of money. But if you're using this on site, there's a strong chance that it could be dealing with wet wood, or it could be dealing with rain or dampness or wetness of all kinds of things. And if that is going to set the brake off, then that's going to be a nightmare. And to have spare brakes and to have spare blades on you is not only costly, but also a massive pain in the bum. So using a sight saw like this, or a contractor saw out on site, it's a lot of money to potentially get nicked, potentially not work, potentially cost you more money, which I don't think a lot of contractors are going to go and do. Now, the mini saw, or the cheapest one that they do, which is basically very similar to what's been available in the UK up until now, but Festool had the branding on it, is awfully expensive as well. Again, not something that you're going to take out on site very often. The quality of both of these saws, as I said, from what I've seen, I haven't touched one, but from what I'm seeing, it's not really significantly different from something like the old Evolution that I've got, or any other sort of contractor saw. You know, there are issues with all of them in one way or the other, and the cast iron top one is going to be very, very expensive when it comes here next year. But what about safety, Dean? I know you're asking about that. Surely this is a good thing. Well, everyone that I contacted from the government couldn't tell me any stats at all on table saw injuries for home users, and it was few. It wasn't overly available when it came to the HSE with stuff that happens at the workplace either. But The fact that this saw stops you being able to hurt yourself if you touch the blade, I think is a relatively minimal issue with these things altogether, because, I mean, sure, I've had the blade go through a finger twice now, and that both of those times it was down to my incompetence. Now, what concerns me is, first of all, new people not thinking that they have anything to be worried about, because it's a table saw, it's got this safety thing, so they're all going to be fine and dandy. And I think that we have far more issues that we have to discuss first. One of the biggest issues that I believe table saws face is things like kickback. And kickback happens when wood is going through the blade there, and the spacing here isn't always exact. For instance, if this was going through the blade and I was cutting that, if this blade is slightly off balance, so it's not quite straight, or if the fence is slightly off balance or not quite straight, then by the time we get to here, then this blade or the riving knife or the fence can grab the side of the back of the teeth there and propel this piece of wood way back and embed itself into a wall or a stomach or a face. And that is a true and honest concern that we have. The Sawstop doesn't stop that. We need to improve safety on saws like this, and I plan to do a lot more, because I certainly haven't done enough when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I want to make sure that people are aware of how they can check their blades for straightness with this little jobby that I made. I've got one coming that will save you the effort of making one soon. Also, how to check the fence, how to check the blade, the riving knife, all of that sort of nonsense to make sure that you are all straight. Also, something that Evolution, as well as a lot of other manufacturers do, is give you push sticks like these. And I don't like these either, because when you're pushing along like so, it's very, very easy for the blade to start lifting up the wood. And if that lifts up the wood to the point of it catching on the teeth, again, that's kickback and all a bit of a nightmare. So how do you get past that? And this is just one that I made. You can make these out of absolute scrap, and this is something where I can put pressure down force on the wood. So I'm pressing down as well as close to the fence, and that will work through nicely. If you wanted to, you could use your orange one, your plastic one, to do that kind of thing, or keep it close to the fence. But the mainstay is you're having down force on there, not just pressing at this piece, which would allow the wood to flip up. And so anything that means that people are overly confident that shouldn't be, because they don't know the basics like that, should be very, very concerned. So that concerns me a great deal, and we need to push more on education of table saws, because they are safe if used correctly, but you do have to use them correctly. Now, some of you may point out that I'm not using my crown guard on there, which again is another safety feature, and you're absolutely right. So that's one of my problems with them. It's fixing a problem that I don't think, personally, and I can't find any information to back up, the fact that it's going to help that many people at all. And in fact, it could do the opposite and make people a little bit more complacent, which is something that I certainly wouldn't want to see. But what about the other aspects of the Sawstop? What else concerns me? Well, it's the company as a whole, to be honest with you. If you look at what they've done in America, if reports are to be believed, and there's plenty of videos out there on Sawstop and how their patent has sort of come into effect and what they've done with it over the years and all that sort of stuff. I think Stumpy Nubs did a brilliant video about it. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. But my serious concern is that I believe they've lobbied the American government to make all table saws have their technology, and they would basically lease out their tech to allow Sawstop stuff to be in every table saw, under the guise of it being the new saviour. Now, as I've said already, I don't think it is the new saviour, and really cornering the market in that way scares me, especially in the UK, where our government is a bit rubbish. And I know from a previous life that they will clamp down on things they do not understand, regardless of how many people complain about it, regardless of petitions and all that sort of nonsense. But the government will absolutely crush anything that they think yeah, we'll go for that. And that can often be because lobbyists have pushed it in their face and they simply don't know any better. And so, as we're not in the EU, I mean, who knows what the EU are going to do about it, but and as we're not America, at the moment, we can decide what we need, which, once again, is not as easy as you might think. I've contacted a lot of agencies to find out who has the rules and regulations for what can be brought into the UK for private citizens and not for workplaces. And that's quite challenging to get all of that info as well. But I digress. And my point being that if Sawstop decided to start really lobbying hard at the UK government, our government are so ridiculous that they may well believe that every machine should have that. And at the cost of £1,000 for a base level machine from Sawstop, I'm not happy about that idea at all. Again, I must say that any safety is good, especially when we're talking about people's fingers and digits and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, things that I've shown you in this video so far with regards to the setting up of a saw correctly, using a saw correctly, not wearing gloves, not having loose dangly tops when you're doing it that can get pulled into the blade, that kind of information is more important in my world and should be something that we see in pamphlets or whatever that comes out with saws. Now, a lot of saws, like Evolution, do tell you to be safe, which is great. But we do need to concentrate more on educating people wherever possible. But here's the thing. If we are really talking about safety, which we should be, then saw manufacturers shouldn't be selling saws exactly as they are at the moment, but it shouldn't be something where they have to go to Sawstop technology to become safer. They should have more information about how to set them up accurately and correctly that is not going to pinch wood against the blade. There should be more information about every saw should have like the blade tilty thing like this does, like my Evolution does, to allow you to set it up, and I will be doing a video about that as well. Making sure that you've got the fence in exactly the right place. Every saw that you buy should have that sort of stuff accessible to be able to alter it to make it absolutely safe. And that, to me, is much more important than something that just happens if you touch the blade. Because if you do everything that you're supposed to, then touching the blade isn't even a possibility. And so that's it, really. I just wanted to do a bit of an opinion piece because I know a lot of YouTubers are dripping over themselves to get these bad boys, and that's perfectly fine. YouTube is pretty awful when it comes to making you as a viewer have expectations of what's right and what's wrong. And we're all part of this consumerism by showing you new stuff all the time, which hopefully will help you, but in some cases doesn't. And no, I haven't got, I'm not sort of sore about the fact that Sawstop haven't asked me. I wouldn't want one of their saws anyway, because I think they're completely unrealistic to most people from a price perspective, but also the reasons I've mentioned here. And I think that there's just some sneakiness happening that I'm just not happy about. And so it's not, what's it called? Raw eggs, sniffy eggs, farty eggs. I'm not sour about that, so there's no need to go for that in the comments, but it is something where I just think we need to do more for safety on table saws, and we need to make sure that table saws can be tuned or come out of the factory absolutely bang on. And if a company is selling a saw that can't be tuned, that isn't absolutely spot on, then they should be, you know, hung up for it, because that's a bad thing. So we should, as consumers, vote with our money and make sure that the good companies are recognised. But also we should ensure as much as possible that we support companies that do stuff that's actually useful, that are less likely to impact site saws, job saws, contractor saws, and the saws that you and I will use in our hobbies in a way that is not going to really help us, but is going to price us out of the game. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I've been Dean. This has been Woodwork Journey, and I really look forward to the comments. It's going to be an interesting comment section, I imagine. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Oh, and hey, if Sawstop is just all about the altruistic intentions to help people, then why are we charging £1,500 for a saw that, you know, isn't worth £1,500?